your hunters that have 4 set of the dungeon set, and they instantly become pumpers right away. No shit. And you usually put like a hunter, 4 hunters with a feral druid, or 3 hunters and a feral plus an enhanced shaman, or a resto shaman. That's kind of the 3 options that you have to bring your feral druid into the raid. And so they fit in, give that juicy 5% crit to the whole hunter group. And yeah, that's the big thing. And they have a small effect of the healing, but with my calculations that I did based on logs, I said like the healing is like it's nice, but it's never gonna actually matter, you know. So because in practice it usually gets that's the same amount of healing that a resto shaman with chain will do, right?
Yeah, maybe in like dungeons, at best, though, it helps the raid healers very slightly, but that's like at best, and it's not a big deal.
What about in dungeons though? Where like if you're just a 5-man group and you're swiping,
it's definitely not worthless. I just don't think it's like I would only put the points there if you have the points. It wouldn't be like something you have to get.
Yeah. I see. And then you were talking about Mangle as well, Sam. Maybe you could introduce the chat to Mangle. Why is it so important? Yeah, there's multiple versions of Mangle. It's actually kind of confusing if you're looking at it from the outside looking in. Like, what is it?
Yeah, so you it's 1 talent point, and it's the last point in the feral druid talent tree, and it actually creates 2 spells, 1 in cat form, 1 in bear form. Right? The 1 in cat form is 40 energy, and the 1 in bear form is, I believe, like 10 rage or 15 rage, and it has a 6-second cooldown. And it has a debuff that it puts on the target that increases bleed effects for 12 seconds for, I think, 30%. So in Mangle, in cat form, you could spam it if you would wish to do so, and in bear, it's a 6-second cooldown, and it's your main ability to keep threat. You can see it as the shield slam version for a feral druid, right? And that's also like your big fat threat builder. So if playing wise, you would want to keep that up, like off cooldown all the time, because that's what brings in the threat. Looking at the cat DPS side of it, it also has another effect on top of the bleed. It's probably best if you go in your spellbook and check that.
Check the spellbook.
I think it has the effect for bear as well.
Yes, but but it kind of fits in more of the role of a feral, like a cat DPS, right? But indeed, like a bear Mangle actually does the same as well. Is that on top of the bleeds?
On top of the bleed.
Oh, you don't have it learned, I think.
Okay.
You don't have it spec'd yet.
So
but anyway, it's okay. It's like either 30% bleed effect, and it increases your shred damage by that amount as well.
Ooh, yeah, shred is huge.
Which is big as a cat DPS because you can bring back shred energy from 60 to 42 by 2 talent points. Oh, and basically your rotation would be keep Mangle debuff up, and then shred, and then either on 4 or 5 combo points you would rip, right? And you have
I can talk about that specifically because it gets pretty intense with the cat whenever you guys want to hear about that. If you want to do bear first or whatever.
Yeah, let's do bear, then we'll do cat. By the way, legend alert in the chat. Legend alert chat. Everybody in Twitch chat, look who's in the chat. Warrior TSW, actual legend, TBC monster brain in the house. You love to see it. Good to see you, TSW, man. Yeah, so the bear, I mean, here's the low IQ take. Hey, you have a button now. You know, in Classic, you're just spamming a whole lot of maul and actually, a whole lot of swipe.
Yes, but you can actually get another extra spell, which is called Lacerate.
Tell us about it.
It's like, excuse me. Lacerate is like you can compare it to kind of like a Sunder, but instead of like reducing armor, it puts up a bleed effect, and it stacks up to 5, and once you have 5 stacks, it kind of works the same way as Devastate for the Warrior in TBC, where if you have full stack, it actually each stack it grows, and it max out at 5 stacks. You would gain more damage and more threats from refreshing a 5 stack than you would from going 1 to 2, right? And that's actually in the start of your main ability as a bear tank is Mangle, Maul, and then Swipe and Lacerate. And so you have the choice to make. You put Mangle off CD ASAP. You dump Rage with Maul whenever you're, let's say, over 50 or 60, whatever that threshold would be. It's kind of like as a tank, you kind of have more freedom to use your Rage because you're getting hit as well instead of just generating just your auto attack, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have a choice to make, and that's like a really interesting part about Feral Druid at this time. Do I use Lacerate or do I use Swipe? Because Lacerate does threats based on the ability, not so much the bleed effect and the damage, right? Pretty much the same thing as Sunder, because Sunder does practically no damage, if even no damage. But it's just the ability that builds the threats. And for Swipe, it's completely the other way around. With Swipe, you need the damage to do the threat. And there's a whole calculation about that. And basically, it boils down to whenever your Swipe non-crits does 225 damage, you should be using Swipe or over Lacerate.
Carlos, can you turn the music down a little bit? I'm getting a bunch of people whispering me, asking you to turn the music down, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay, turn the music down?
In-game music. In-game music, yeah.
Gotcha.
Thank you, Nukem, and everybody else.
So you're actually using Maul like a threat dump, as it kind of feels like it should be, kind of like Heroic Strike, in Classic. You're using it.
Exactly, exact same way. Next auto attack, instead of doing a white attack and building rage, you're spending that rage. So it works exactly.
Your rotation as a bear, let's say you're about to just tank a heroic dungeon boss or something. It's not even a boss.
Yeah. So you start running in. You cast Fairy Fire to pull the mob on you because you have a feral Fairy Fire as well. Because typically Fairy Fire wouldn't be castable in bear or cat form. So it's a talent in the feral tree as well. So we cast Fairy Fire, then you mangle your auto attack mangle. And I would advise everybody who would start tanking to use like a start attack macro, like cast mangle and then next line / start attack. And you can spam that mangle button. And then if you're tanking one target, initially you would do lacerate, and then do another mangle. Because mangle has 6 seconds cooldown, so you can fit 2 to 3 global cooldowns in between those cooldown, in between that cooldown. Between that cooldown. And that would be either lacerate or swipe. And you put on, you can put out Demo Roar, and then you swipe some more, do Mangle again.
But when is it not worth it to use Lacerate? Because I tanked some heroics on the bear, and it's not something you use on trash mobs, right? It's something that you use on a chunky boss, and you keep up. Are you keeping it up to stacking it up to 5 always, or?
No, that's the interesting thing, right? If you want to have your swipe do more threats, and this is single target, then Lacerate. You need to have your swipe do 225 damage non-crit. If your swipe does more damage than 225, you should be using swipe.
Right.
If your damage and that's usually the point around when you start getting half your gear or 75% of your gear is tier 5 related.
Oh Jesus! So a huge part is not okay.
Yes, definitely. And I think even starting out fresh level 70. You get your leatherworking pieces and a few tanking pieces from along the way from leveling. You would actually be, even when tanking 2 targets, it would probably be better threat-wise to tap target and lacerate between the 2.
I see. Very interesting. Yeah, that you're not going to hear that anywhere else, folks. That's a real. That's someone who plays the video game that's telling you that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's see what. And
that would your typical rotation be later on, and like I said, around the end of tier 5, you can bring that down by letting your enhancement shaman bring annihilator to reduce armor, stack all those armor debuffs, have a rogue with exposed armor, get that armor as low as you can, add an enhancement shaman to the feral druid comp, and then you also get 10% attack power for the feral druid, and you bring that point of 225 swipe damage faster than the end of tier 5. You might even bring it to the beginning of tier 5, and then all of a sudden your bear tank is doing a shitload of threat.
Nice. How does bear tank threat, in your opinion, compared to let's say single target bear tank threat compared to the other tanks? How do you feel about it?
It's potentially the highest.
Yeah, I think it's the highest single target for sure.
Yeah, at least from a longer period than let's say 20 or 30 seconds, right? Because I think the burst with Avenging Wrath, Avenger's Shield, and a sort of a cool spell power trinket and stuff for a paladin would be bigger for the first 20 seconds, let's say, or even only 10 seconds. But after that, a feral druid a bear tank just owns in that regard.
I see.
Yeah, the snap threat of like Mangle Maul is also through the roof.
Yes.
Used to do that.
I've seen on my Feral Druid in tier 5, I would see Mangles almost hitting for 2k and Mauls like 1600. So that's like close to 4k damage in just one global. Boom. And that's like, yeah.
A good little trick too for heroics, or even raids sometimes, is if you hot yourself before the pull as a bear. Once all of the healing you get is going to cause AoE threat. You know, everything around you you'll be generating threat on it. So it's a good way to get some extra AoE threat in a dungeon for sure.
What do you feel like you excel at that the other druids, the other tanks don't? Something that you feel like you lack in that the other.
It's like what we just talked about. Threat, I think, is a big thing. If Classic proves to be, and I think Warrior DSW, in the chat, the big brain for Warriors said, if a Classic TBC proves to be really easy, then Warrior has less presence into a raid, right? Because you bring a Warrior when shit is hard, right? And if all of a sudden threat is an issue because you want to kill shit really fast, then you're threat capped, and Crix knows all about that as a Warlock. Like, you bring in the Feral Druid for the tanking and the threat. That's a major thing to bring a Feral Druid, maybe even as your main tank, because if it proves to be easy, right?
Oh yeah.
The other thing is,
speaking my language,
you bring one to you bring one for the hunter group, to buff the hunter group, and 5% crit is not big, is not little. You also bring them for the interface for the arcane mage, because I mean I heard some talks about bringing even 2 or 3 arcane mages because the fights are shorter, right? Like, they need interface. Like, the feral spot has a spot for that. And the biggest thing I kept for last is just the versatility. Oh, you have 4 phases and you only need a 3rd tank in the 2nd and the 3rd phase? Shit, just have a druid just shift form, bro.
Yeah, no other tank is going to be able to do as much damage because the spec for tanking is hardly different at all than the spec for cat. So, you know, hopefully you'll carry around some gear swaps, but even a lot of the gear pieces are shared, and no other tank can like quickly just turn into actually doing pretty decent damage like that.
And then the weakness of Bear Tank, you talked to some of the strengths. What is your kryptonite, you think, if any?
Kryptonite is like the reverse side of what TSV Warrior said, is when shit is hard, you don't have a cooldown to press. I mean,
no shield wall.
You have no shield wall. You have bar skin, but you can't really get that off because you would need to time it between boss hits, and if it hits faster than 1.5 seconds, you're fucked.
Magic damage.
You have a big HP pool against that though, so that's somewhat okay.
And significantly high armor, yeah.
Yeah,
it's armor cap very easily.
Well, I wouldn't say very easily, but yes.
I like tier 5.
Yes, exactly. I would say that the Kryptonite is no cooldowns.
No cooldowns.
Pretty much.
Did they do anything to what they do have though? Like, what about this Pharaoh Frenzied Regen and stuff like that? Is this buffed at all? Let's see.
Frenzied Regen is about, for 10 seconds you gain like 200 healing per tick, and it literally drains your rage, so you're not doing much except maybe Mangle.
Yeah, Frenzied Regen is kind of crap. It's okay in PvP, but in raiding it's rarely used.
And it's not like nothing, but it's not going to save your ass.
Not going to save you, I see.
At least it shouldn't be regarded as such.
And that's about it. Yeah, there's no other coolie at all, is there?
Yeah. What I would do naturally, if, for example, a pull of a boss, it's really dicey because healers can't pre-hot, because then the boss would run to them, right? Because of threat. Is you could, like Shrifty said, you could like put a regrowth, rejuve, and then like life bloom, and then walk and like press Barkskin as you're running in, and then switch to bear form, and then you have at least the first 5 seconds, you take 20% less damage. But besides that, it's just like the damage the boss is doing, you have to take it.
I see.
And also, another thing is crushing.
Yeah.
Because a druid can't get, like, a warrior needs shield block, right? And then it can't be crushed. And a druid still can be crushed, so that's why they have high armor and high HP. But I mean, a crush can happen, and there's nothing you can do about it. And that could be as big as like 16k hits. So what I said about the Resto Druid, like evening out the damage, right? Like the spiky damage nature, what can happen in raids. A Feral Druid is kind of hard to heal that way because it will take spike damage. It has somewhat high dodge, it has high armor and high HP, but it has high HP because it's taking those spike damages. And for example, the server I was playing on till now, like if that spike damage happens, like you're just sitting there and you just have to accept it. That you need to get, like you're relying on your healers.
There's no crushing in Sunwell, making Bears the, in my opinion, undisputed best tank.
Well, why is that? Yeah, I was going to ask about that rumor too. People, I don't know if you guys in the chat have heard this rumor, but the rumor, and I remember TSW was on here a few weeks ago, and he was saying that Bears become like untouchable in Sunwell, and they become like the Omega Giga Chad tanks come in the Sunwell.
Bro, I've seen my fucking bear tanks get clapped out, so I don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Okay.
One shot.
Yeah.
Endless things.
I mean, Brutal is...
Oh, true, yeah. It is on Endless. It's different. Endless act's different, I guess. Yeah, that's right.
And to add on that, Cargos, is like whenever druids can get a hands on a trinket, for example, with an on-use effect, like in Karazhan there's the second boss, Morose, drops Morose Lucky Punch. It has a passive dodge rating stuff, and then an on-use for like 16% dodge or something. That is, like, that's a sort of a mini cooldown that they want. And then another thing is, once the certain reputation gets unlocked from Ogri Law, you can actually get a Badge of Tenacity, which has a passive armor and an on-use of agility, which is also about...
Oh, yeah, you can buy it on the auction house, too. Right?
Yeah, and you have about 8 to 10% extra dodge of that. So you can actually combine those two. So if you combine those two, you get an extra 26% dodge, and all of a sudden, you have a cooldown.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I thought on-use trinkets had activated an internal cooldown.
That's how
Yes, but not those two.
Oh,
Because you could, for example, as healers, you can pop a spirit trinket, like an on-use spirit, and an on-use plus healing.
Oh, so because it's just agility, it can stack?
Yeah, exactly.
Yo, that's crazy. What a weird interaction, because in Classic there's nothing like that, right? The only thing that I could think of would be like Renataki's trinket, where because you get the full value from it immediately, because you like kind of pop it and it resets your cooldowns, then you can kind of use another trinket after. So you can use 2 trinkets in tandem with each other in TBC.
That's right.
That's insane.
Yeah. So Sunwell has that buff for the monsters, right? So it reduces their chance hits will miss by 5 and chance to dodge by 20, as Raffington said. So essentially, the miss thing is more relevant for warriors and paladins because, they might actually stack defense rating. Whereas a feral tank, they only need as much either defense or resilience combined to get 2.6% less chance to be crit, and then they're uncritable. But after that, you wouldn't want defense rating on a druid because it increases, your chance to dodge, parry, and block. But since you can only dodge, it's like you're getting a third of the value of it. But you can still hit that dodge cap in Sunwell if you stack enough agility, while also being uncrushable, while also having armor cap and more health than any other tank.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I think they're godly later. But I think, other than the lack of shit buttons, I think they're really, really strong single target tanks.
Yeah.
Arguably stronger than warriors.
Another weakness, is it safe to say, is that they just don't have AoE really ability. Like they have swipe, but it's only 3 targets. So you kind of like tap, swipe, but
Yeah.
But Warrior shares that problem as well, kinda.
True.
And the prop paladin fills that niche or that role so well. I wouldn't even see it as a negative side, unless whenever you're dungeon grinding, right, to get your rep or your gear in the start of the server or the start of TPC expansion. In this case, that would be a negative side, but otherwise than that, I wouldn't actually see that as a negative.
Yeah, I think that's why you compare the bear tank with the warrior and not the paladin, because the paladin is so good at AoE tanking, like he's king in that sense. So you have like groups of enemies that you need to off tank or whatever it is, the paladin's the best man for the job.
I mean, you do have thorns too, right? Which is no joke. It's something
yeah,
like
it's pretty low threat.
All right.
But the warrior doesn't have anything though, right? The warrior has nothing like that.
Nothing.
Right? Yeah, so I mean,
Shield spikes, wall.
He's the old Tab Sunder Andy over there, right? Like that's about all he's got. Or maybe some
I mean, you can
cleave
give
actions
the
and
warrior
whirlwind.
thorns if you have a druid.
I leave
True.
groups if they're the warrior tank. Group.
Yeah.
Crix is spoiled. Don't listen.
Yeah, I know.
Well, okay, so we talked about the feral tanking. There must be some stuff we're not.
There's one other
leaving out
thing I
as
think
well.
is pretty big. Expertise. Sam, do you want to tell them a little bit about why that's so good for bear?
On a bear, expertise.
Yes, expertise is the way how it was initially when TBC launched, it was still weapon skill, and then it got switched to expertise. And it has an expertise rating, and it goes to expertise, and it's basically your chance to reduce getting dodged or parried on your attacks. And as a bear tank, you're obviously standing in front of the boss, so you can it's dodge and parry, and if you're attacking from behind, it would only be dodge. For a bear tank, it's so crucial to be high enough HP to survive 2 hits of a boss, because I mean, otherwise you'd be dead because you don't have those like last stand or shield wall, right? So you have to survive the 2 hits to give enough time for your healers to heal you up. And if you actually have low expertise, you would actually get parried by the boss, and then that boss would actually get a faster melee attack. That's kind of a weird thing in TBC.
Yeah, the parry haste.
Exactly, the parry haste, and that's kind of that would be lethal to a feral druid more so than a warrior tank.
Yeah, so expertise, you're increasing your defense by lowering the amount of incoming hits, and you're increasing your chance to hit past the hit cap, essentially, in twice as effectively, because you have to hit from the front when you're tanking, right, as you were saying, the parry and the dodge.
Yeah, you just think it works with weapons, right? It's weird that it works with paws.
It works with... Yeah. So the way the feral weapon... The way it's coded, essentially your paws are a weapon in this game. They're a weapon, but they're not your weapon. So if you buff your weapon, like with Wind Fury, it won't affect your bear cap, because that's not the weapon you're in form. But your paws are coded as a weapon, which is why items that give plus weapon damage work in form, and they still give you a buff. So... expertise, one other thing too is there's such a limited amount, especially early on in TBC, that it's not like hit rating where it's like you can cap in a million different ways and then there's gems to fill in the blanks and all this. There's a limited amount of expertise. Feral druids, unlike warriors or paladins, I think, especially out of the gate, can get a lot more expertise than them without having to sacrifice much, because you've got I think that's called the Shatrith Hide leggings. They're a quest reward blue, and DPS people will know this because you wear them even in tier 5.
You're talking about cleft hook? Are you talking about cleft hook?
Cleft hide, yeah.
And those are leather pants with strength, agility, and stamina, and they give hit rating and expertise. And obviously, a warrior paladin tank might not want to use leather, but for a druid, it's not that big of a deal. So that's one source of it. Secondly, you're going to want to rush your lower city rep to Exalted and get that rank. That also gives expertise. And the third is, your most important rep as a feral is your Cenarian Expedition rep, because that's going to give you the mace. Feral tank weapon for
that mace is nasty.
That mace, which also has a fuck ton of expertise.
Earth Warden, right?
Yeah, Earth Warden, I think that's the name. So the ratio is 4 expertise rating gives 1 expertise. And each point of expertise is 0.25% less dodge and parry. So effectively 16 expertise rating is 1% chance that less dodge and parry. So it's like 2% hit almost past the cap.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And in total, if you would want to soft cap it, because you can only either cap the reduced chance for dodge or parry, it would be 26. But I think if you combine those items, you would actually end up with, I think 16, 17, 18, somewhere around that.
Yeah, you don't dodge cap.
Yeah, so that expertise, those 3 items together, or 4, give you a lot of expertise, and it's where a prop paladin and a warrior tank need to spend their all itemization budget on getting death capped, so they can be crit immune. That's less of a worry for a feral.
All those tanking stats still matter though for a feral, right? So defense is still a thing. You still have to get the same defense values as warriors and paladins. You still have to get the same. You worry about expertise as well.
Well, you only want to hit as much defense to become uncrittable, though. You wouldn't want to stack it beyond that, unlike warrior paladins.
Where a warrior and a paladin still can make use of all 4 things that defense adds. Like Swifty said, a druid can only dodge more. And as such, so the itemization goes, budget goes down or the value you get from it goes so much down after you reach the cap, you basically don't want more than exactly the cap.
Fun fact, though, the resilience actually gives you more towards that uncrittable than defense rating does. So you could, if you wanted to, gem for resilience to hit that cap easier.
Yes, you can have a chest enchant giving you 15 resilience. You can have the the trinket from Keepers of Time Exalted, which nobody would really want to because it reduces on use, it reduces your threat or something. But it actually has resilience rating passively and stamina, which on itself has good value for a feral druid.
I see. What about scaling? Like early on, did they just get owned in like tier 4 and stuff? Do you ever see like fresh cricks, like early bear tanks and stuff, or anything come to mind on the front?
No, not really. See the bear tanks. I was going to ask you guys if there was a big thing, because there's going to be a lot of bear tanks in the whole heroic, and you know how the rep Dainjing and all the warlocks are going to be there. Some good old threat tips for these guys who are going to be spamming these dungeons and having issues keeping threat, like I've seen happen so many times.
Well, Sam said the rotation. They
Yes, they're all good to go now. But realistically, early on, because they're either it's tough, to be honest. You are low attack power. You have to tap target lacerate. I mean, obviously you would want to swipe, but that's going to be less threat at the start. And just overall, that's a struggle because the craftables you can make to boost your gear, like warlocks can make 5 tailoring pieces, and they might even still use that at the start of tier 6, right?
Yep.
A feral druid can make items that he wants to replace ASAP because they suck ass, right? But they're just good enough to give you that crit immunity and high armor, high stamina. But it's nothing threat related. What I'm talking about is the heavy cleft tooth set that you might know, like the legs, the chest, and the boots.
Yeah.
In the start, you basically need all 3 of them to get defense count.
But that's a real amenity, though,
there's
right?
another way to do it that I was theorizing. It would require you doing a fuck ton of battlegrounds, or maybe you could do them beforehand if the honor stacks from a pre-patch. But if you get all those resilience epic offset pieces, like the necklace and the boots and the belt and the bracers,
Sure.
you can get to that defense cap with these pieces that also give good stam, agility, armor, and attack power, like really good offensive defensive mix that'll get you to that cap. And then you don't have to use those cleft hoof pieces, which are just fat stacks of defense with no threat whatsoever.
Yes, exactly. But I would say let's say that your dilemma is in TBC comes out, it's launched, you can walk through the Dark Portal, and in 2 weeks' time, I want to be ready for my tier 4 and my Karazhan raids with my guild. You probably don't have the luxury of time to also get those PvP pieces. So I would say, in the beginning, really early, first month of the server, I would say they struggle.
They struggle.
Threat-wise, and actually survivability-wise on hard-hitting bosses as well. Because the itemization budget isn't there for them yet.
I see.
But once you get into higher item levels, that does become the case.
It's really cool, though. So, you can just you know that you're going to get stronger and stronger and appreciate, a fine wine, as a druid tank, towards the deeper and deeper you get into the server. It's going to look
Absolutely.
up and up, which is a nice thing to look forward to. And if you feel like you're playing the right class, I'm only going to get better and better, which is nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, flying form. This is a totally unrelated one. This is kind of just a fun question. But, flying, druids get flying form for free, basically, at 68. You just get, so even before 70, guys, you're flying around, looting stuff in flight form. You can just jump out of the water and pop instantly into, bird form. And then people talk about this epic flying form quest. I know nothing about it. Is it hard? Does it cost gold? Does it take a lot of time? People say it's really fun.
It actually, to unlock the quest, you still need to pay up the 5k gold to actually give you epic flying. But you just get a different form, so it's different from the normal flight form, which you get for free or for 2 gold or whatever it is from the trainer. You still need a 5k gold, and then you have then you get an idol, which we talked about the auras that they give, right? Leader of the pack for Feral Druid, and then Boomkin Aura for Boomkin Aura for the Balanced Druid, giving each 5% physical, 5% magic. And then you have an idol that actually adds on to that, so your aura becomes stronger. And that idol is
shy of an extra % crit for the whole party.
Yes. Which item, value-wise for an idol, that's super big.
Yeah, it's the biggest DPS boost, but obviously you won't see it as personal because it's for your whole group. So it just depends whether you want to look like a bigger deck or you want your raid to be a bigger deck.
Yeah. I mean, Druid Flight Form too, you can kill people in the air, right? Like, it just, honestly, it just enables really cool stuff that you can do, guys. Like, you can literally pop out of form, Moonfire, do cool stuff, go back into bird form. It is quality of life. You can loot nodes in the form. It's probably a pretty substantial reason why somebody would want to be a Druid, man. PvP.
It adds to the fact that in World PvP, you're not going to get ganked.
Yeah, there you go.
Or, I mean, you can get away always easy. Like, cat form, swift, dash, and then just wait till you leave combat, pop that platform, and you're out of there.
Yep, and you just need to leave combat for like 1 millisecond, right? Because everybody else is cast 3-second Andes casting up their mount. You just bam, you're out.
Exactly. Yeah.
The Druid leaves combat for 1 second. You can't get
also, like a big quality of life, which might seem unrelated, but you're gonna do that a shit ton, is when you use your Hearthstone to Shattrath, either to Aldor or Scryers. You need to drop down or wait for that freaking elevator. You can just pop flight form right above the ground, and you're down.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. That's it. Roll Druid.
Exactly. Like, honestly, like, if you would calculate that save time on waiting for that elevator, I mean,
that's 2 item slots, at least.
Pretty much.
Hell yeah. Okay, maybe move on to Feral DPS. Cat form DPS. This is something that I think people kind of generally know that bears are good in TBC. Like, they kind of just remember that. But Feral Kitty DPS, it's almost impossible. Even Crix, do you know exactly where they land in the pack? You know,
I've never been in a raid with a Feral Druid besides Dat Naughty a couple times, and I don't remember.
Plan on going Feral Cat for TBC, like in the raid we're figuring out. Like, I'll be a 3rd tank role, so that way, you know, most encounters in TBC you can do with 2 tanks, which means the 3rd tank role can often be Cat. And that's the best tank to do it because the other ones aren't going to do as much damage. But there's a few changes that are really nice. First off, you don't have to farm pummelers anymore, manual crowd pummeler. If you know anything about Cat in vanilla or bear, you have to go into Gnomeregan all the time. You have to kill the boss that has, it's like about a 1 in 3rd chance to drop this item. And we don't even need to talk about it too much because, you know, it's not going to be relevant anymore, thank God. But the point is, you don't have to do this awful, terrible farm that would eat up your whole day. And once they added that 30 instance per day limit, like, not only would it eat up your whole day, you might not even get enough. Cats would have to use a single pummeler, sometimes every single boss. So, you know, you might farm 10 pummelers for a single night of raiding, which could be a whole day of farming Gnomeregan for 1 raid. I mean, it was nightmare. So, second, in TBC, the haste rating, in Classic, it's 50%. In TBC, it becomes a flat number, and that flat number translates to about 37%, which A is, you know, it's smaller, or 33%, I think. But B is that the feral weapons get a lot stronger in TBC, so they clearly surpass the crowd pummeler. So that's the first thing. You don't have
really big staffs, bro.
Yeah, you get they make all of the feral weapons in TBC are 2-handed. So that's the theme. It's staffs typically, and you know, you don't have to think about offhands for feral at least. So you're always going to get these big, and there's a few throughout all the raids in PvP, and there's ones that are tailored more towards bear, and ones that are tailored more towards cat. Where the bear ones will usually have like armor, and the cat ones won't. But anyway, so that's change number 1. Is no more pummelers. Number 2 is you've got the shred talent. Actually, so in Classic, it lowers the energy cost by 12, so it goes from 60 to 48. In TBC, it lowers it by 18, so it goes from 60 to 42. And the reason why that is a big deal is because the cat DPS, if you really want to do proper damage, is you have to power shift. And if you don't know what that is, it's when you use up as much of your energy as you can effectively, you shift out of form, and then you shift back into form on the same, you know, instant global. And you do this right before energy techs while you're not on the global cooldown. And this will give you 40 energy from the Führer talent and another 20 energy from the Wolf's Head Helm. So you get 60 energy right when you shift in, and then another 20 from your energy tech. So ideally, you're using up your energy, and then you're power shifting to get the energy back. And so that's one thing, is because the shred cost is lower, you can end up getting more attacks before you need to power shift again. Secondly, because there's a debuff limit in vanilla, you typically can't rip on boss fights, which is a really good ability, but sometimes it gets pushed off, or, you know, your guild doesn't want you to use the slot on it.
Or they're just flat out immune to it. Mechanicals and elementals are immune to it, so that's still a thing. But a lot of things are not immune to it, and you don't have to worry about the debuff limit anymore. So you're going to start ripping. It's in the top right there of your spellbook, Carlos. And that's your bleed.
So your rotation, and you also have Mangle, right? Mangle increases all bleed damage by 30% and your shred damage by 30%. So your rotation with Cat, if you're coming from like, it changes based on where you are in your tier sets, because Mangle starts off by being 40 energy. Eventually it becomes 35 when you get tier 6. But you're going to start off, you can go Mangle, shred, like before you need to power shift. And typically you're always going to keep up Mangle, unless you have a bear that's doing it for you. But you're always going to keep up Mangle. It lasts for 12 seconds, so that's your first priority, is make sure that's on. When that's on, you're going to shred. When you get to either 4 or 5 combo points, you rip. And the reason why you can do it on 4 and not just always 5 is because Rip has an AP scaling of 6% AP per point. So it's 6, 12, 18, 24. But there's no more AP scaling from point 4 to 5. So although it does gain a little base damage, there's no more scaling damage, and that does lower...
Squeeze a little more value out of it. I like it.
Yeah, so that's completely different how, for example, a rogue works. Because a rogue actually gets the scaling on more combo points. And for Cat, that's different. And since Cat form actually gets a huge attack power on their character, because of the weapons that get at some point they gave 1.1k attack power, right? In tier 6, that it's that huge that gives that much attack power. It actually matters so much. And it actually synergizes why 4 to 5 also has a different effect as well. Because if your abilities, Mangle or Shred, crits, they give double the combo points. A bit like rogues have in Classic, I think, with Seal Fate. I think, Cargus, if you pull up the Feral Tree,
yeah.
I think it's just above Mangle.
Just above Mangle. Leader of the Pack, Radiant Predatory Instincts?
No, it's actually the one... No, it's way up, actually. It's above Fairy Fire, I believe. And above that one.
Primal Fury?
Yeah, right.
Sharpened Claws?
Yeah. It's the one right above. Yeah, Primal Fury.
Yeah, that
Primal
one.
Fury. Okay.
So if you... that one. Primal Fury. You have 100% chance, you put 2 points in, you have 100% chance that if you crit with your ability, you get add an additional combo point, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you do Mangle, it crits, you do Shred, it crits, you have 4. If you then would crit again, you have 6. So you missed a combo point, which is not as efficient, especially with what Swifty just said, that the difference between 4 and 5 is minor, right? So you would do 4, get that rip out, and just shift form, power shift and start over again. Because it's actually not, without power shifting, there's no way you would actually be able to have 5 combo points ripped up all the time. It's actually you need to power shift to keep that rip up.
It's kind of cool though. Yeah, that's kind of
cool. Do you ever feel rage starved?
Energy starved?
Energy,
sorry.
Absolutely. As a DPS cat, which I honestly, that's something that you would I find attractive in the role is it's not just energy that is your resource. It's also mana.
Also mana, yeah. Well, here's the thing, man. You feel less energy starved than a rogue because a rogue can't do jack shit when they run out of energy.
It's power shift.
Exactly. Your mana dictates how energy starved you are.
Yeah, but that's really cool. Crix, to put this in Warlock terms, right? Power shifting is they're printing money like a tap. It's like a tap for them. When they power shift, it's like they're tapping. They basically get to get new resources immediately.
For one global cooldown and some mana, Crix, we gain 60 energy. So imagine use an ability to give 60 energy with no cooldown.
That's one of the things I like about Warlock a lot, because you can generate resources on demand, right? You can literally, I need some mana right now. Bam, get some mana. Druid is like that. The same
thing. If you have a ret in your raid, you won't have to go ever. I was running the math on Judgment of Wisdom, and you could power shift the whole boss fight if you have a ret that's keeping up Judgment of Wisdom. So
wait, put it in really simple terms.
Get a ret in your raid.
I know the combo points can be janky and crit all over the place, but are you still using Shred as your primary combo point builder and damage?
It's pretty much have Mangle on and then use Shred and use. The goal is to use the least amount of Mangles to keep the buff up.
And then no Rake. Fuck Rake.
No
rake. You Mangle, Shred, and then you'll rip. Now there is some situations where you can Ferocious Bite, which is your Eviscerate finisher, but it's tricky because you don't want Rip to not be on the target for long. So there are situations that, let's say you ripped and then you power shifted, right? If you go into either your Mangles or your Shred or whatever you do, and 2 out of the 3 of the next 3 attacks they all crit, or sorry, 2 of them crit, you'll get to 5 combo points. and you'll still have something like 5 seconds on your rip. If that's the case, if you ever reach 5 combo points and your rip still has 5 seconds, as long as you can DPS for the next like 6 seconds without having to like run away from a boss mechanic or anything like that, you should go for a bite instead of waiting around. Because you can bite and power shift, and you can get up to 4 combo points again, and reapply the rip, and you'll only lose 1 tick of rip. So it's worth losing 1 tick of rip if you can sneak in a 5-point.
What about this Tiger's Fury though? Do you try to keep this uptime? 100%.
Tiger's Fury you'll never use except for before the boss pull, because you can gain the energy back, like you know.
See these are really just helpful answers, man. Like anybody playing Feral, they're like, oh shit, okay, like I don't have to use Tiger's Fury because there's no cooldown.
Notes.
In Classic, there's a cooldown, right? It's like 30 seconds or something in Classic. Now there's no cooldown in DBC, at least it looks like, and you just like, okay, do I just keep?
No, there's no cooldown in Classic either.
Oh, okay.
It's just an energy thing. I mean, but trust me, it's not simple. The amount of micromanaging you have to do as a cat is absurd. I mean, between these really small windows where you shift in and out of form, you're also, well, did you crit? Because if you crit, you got 2 combo points instead of 1, and you don't know if you're going to crit. And then also, you've got Omen of Clarity procs, which is clear casting. It makes your next ability cost no energy. You don't know when that's going to happen, so that'll change your rotation. And if you miss on an attack, you get like half the energy back, so that'll change the amount of attacks you do before you power shift. And then you're watching your rip durations, because if it's above a certain amount, like I said, you can go for bites. And you're doing all of these like 6 micromanaging track things while also still having to deal with boss mechanics, which, as Sam said earlier, are especially melee unfriendly early on. So
and shapeshift.
And well, yeah, you're doing, and that has to be in a window, because if you mess that up, if you try to shift in and out of cat while you're still on the global cooldown, you'll get stuck in human form, and you'll attack with your slow-ass weapon, which will then set your attack timer to that slow-ass weapon, even when you go cat, and you lose a lot of DPS, and of course you lost the window.
Interesting.
Energy.
Is that why you like it so much? Because it's more meticulous?
It's perfect for like a high ADD brain that wants to like hyper-focus on like 8 different things.
Yo,
and
I'll
it's
tell you
challenging.
what. So I leveled a druid rogue with Navik, right? Yo, druids do so much damage while leveling too, man. My damage was way higher than his damage, and let me tell you, and if you're ganking people out in the world as a druid, you just destroy them. Maybe it's because they didn't have gear. It's actually really fun doing a world.
That was my next question.
The moment you hit 50 and you can spend that talent point in that mangle,
yeah,
my god, you're an actual god. No shit.
You do so much damage. World PvP is so fun as a druid, I gotta say. And then also, this right here, Shrifty, this is honestly a game changer, and a lot of you, probably 90% of you in the chat, don't even remember this was even in the game. I didn't until I played it, something kind of recently. What if I told you druids have a gouge, pretty much, in PvC, and the gouge, I'm pretty sure your bleeds can go through it, right?
Yeah, it's a little better than gouge, because not only can bleeds go through it, dots can go through it, so it can actually be pretty good with locks. It's only direct damage that wakes up the target.
Right. And it really enables a ton of CC chains, right? So this is insane. And also, energy combo points don't ever fall off, pretty much ever. Maybe eventually if you log out.
They only fall off if you build them on another target. So you can switch targets around and wait a while and keep your combo points on them. Yeah, I mean, MAME is definitely for arena. If whenever you're ready to talk about like arena stuff, that's.
I wonder if you could. I mean, yeah, let's talk about arena. Do you think a feral cat?
I'm going to go. Well, you don't call it a feral cat, right? Because if you're playing a feral correctly, especially in arena, you're a feral. You're switching between all your forms. You're still going to cast life blooms. You're still going to cyclone and root. You're going to go
charge
and bash, and you're going to go cat and do bursts. So, but yeah, I mean, I plan on going feral. There's been some like proven, testedly good concepts of feral in arena, which mostly with a rogue. Feral rogue is a little more expected, but I think it's underrated. I think it's one of those like sleeper sort of things, and I want to push and get gladiator as a feral. That's my goal.
Oh damn!
Exploiting it. That's the only time I see this. So the only time I see feral in arena at all is rogue, pretty much. 9 times out of 10, if you see one in there, they're with the rogue, and they can be deadly.
I think that's their most viable comp. And about the MAME though, like, it's bigger for your partners than for yourself, because as a druid, like I before said, it's not just a given that you have 5 combo points to spend. So, and especially in the PvP scenario where you might not even run Wolf's Head Helmet in some cases, you might still do, but like getting a rip up and then also having a MAME up, that's not going to be like a big window that you have.
But what if you're a resto druid and you just open? Because I did this with Navik, right? So
Absolutely,
you open with pounce,
That's big. Yeah, you can open up with pounce, like
and then
claw, and then maim, and then you cyclone off. Like, dude,
bro,
that's
insane,
so much CC.
bro. And then you still have bash, you still have root, you still have everything, man. Feral charge, you still. Druid has so much control in DPC. It's so much fun.
They do.
Yeah, a 2-point maim can guarantee you getting off a cyclone. So your GCD in cat is only 1 second, not 1.5. So
No
after
way.
Yeah, but the 1-point maim is only 2 seconds, so they would still be able to interrupt your cyclone at the end if they have a quick interrupt. But a 2-point maim will guarantee cyclone, at least as long as the partner doesn't interrupt you.
Yeah. Oh, that is so nice. What about
my wife with something really fast, guys? So I'll be back in like 2 minutes.
Okay.
She's yelling for me.
Oh, it's a nice area.
Hibernate's also really good against druids because you can be slept in form in bear, cat, or travel. You are considered a beast, so you can be slept. If you see it coming, you should shift out. But druids are a good counter for druids, which is odd. But
it's kind of cool how you can play the other, like, mind game the other druid, as in you could fake cast him by him going bear form and then feral charging you, and you could actually nature swiftness hibernate.
Yeah, there's a lot of one of the reasons why Druid Rogue I think is so good is because druids naturally you can go in form and avoid being sapped, but if you're with a druid, you can go for the hibernate play, and then so if you blind them, for example, and they're in bear form, and the blind is getting in the last few seconds, you can go to hibernate them, and if they switch out of form to avoid the hibernate, now they can be sapped. So one way or another, you're gonna keep them CC.
And so I was doing that with Navik, and he was a human rogue, right? So it sucked not having War Stomp, but he had Perception, so we pretty much would always get the opener.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
Yep.
But another thing I was going to say, what if you wanted to be a feral? I'm sorry, I'm not going to call it a feral cat, but if you wanted to be a DPS feral, like that's your main thing, right? And you're itemizing for that. Do you think you could tank heroics and all the dungeons and just pop in a bear? No problem.
I think so. I mean, you should probably keep around, a couple of pieces to swap, but it shouldn't be a problem for 5-mans.
Yeah, so that's a nice quality of life, because finding a tank is the hardest role usually when you're doing this stuff,
if you're a DPS feral and you're the driver of your itemization progress. Like, you can just be a tank, and it's pretty much the same spec. Like, you can have a spec that works for feral DPS, and it will only differ by maybe 2 points, but it will only have quality of life things, and you can still easily tank.
Yeah, I'm going to share with you the spec in like 30 seconds, Cargos. If you
I can spec it right now. Here, fill it out for me. Let's go.
Wait. I'll open it up and I'll tell you what to do. Okay, so first on the left side there.
Okay, ferocity.
5 points in that on the left.
Oh.
So, just to be clear, is this for a DPS cat, right?
This is for a build you could use for both that I would say is pretty good. Then do 3 points in the threat. The one on the left. I'll just say left, middle, or right. So left.
Okay.
3 in the left. 2 in the right.
2. Okay.
Yeah, 2 in the right for now. We'll probably come back to it. And then get everything in the row below that. Just all of those things.
Okay.
Get them all.
Fully gotten them all?
That's a juicy freaking row. If you're leveling a feral in TBC, you're like, dude.
This row too. Everything in this row.
Everything? Damn, yeah, you're getting some bear stuff and some cat stuff. I like it though, man. True hybrid.
You'll see. You're gonna get everything. Like, it doesn't even feel like a hybrid. You're really missing out on almost nothing. You'll see.
Okay.
So get all of that. Get the middle, the 1 point, improve fairy fire.
Yep. Got it.
Mm-hmm. The 2 on the left, not the right. You can skip the right.
Okay. Go on the left.
Then you're gonna get all 5 points in Heart of the Wild. Get that whole next row, both of them, all the way.
Survival of the fittest. This is new, bro. This is all attributes by 3.
That's the whole reason why feral druids tanks are that easily crit capped. Or crit.
Yeah, because you're getting 3% from this, so you only need the last 2 points.
PvP too. This is like resilience, man. It's like free resilience.
Yeah, against melee for sure.
Yeah.
Part of the resilience benefit. Anyway, sorry. Get 1 point in leader of the pack.
Okay.
That's the middle one there.
Yeah.
And then predatory instincts. No, don't get improved. Don't get any of that now. Go down to the next one.
5.
Yep.
Then mangle.
And then mangle, of course.
Okay.
Now we can go to resto, and we'll come back to feral. I'm just going to show you all the mandatory points and then what you have left.
Okay. Here.
Get Furor, 5 out of 5, the right one.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big one.
get 5 out of 5 in the leftmost thing, Naturalist. It's 10% damage in form, so that's good.
Yo, oh yeah, this is a huge change. This is sound the alarm bells, folks. This, they baked in, what was it called? Natural Shapeshifter or something? They baked in that 10, oh no, it was in balance before. Remember, 10% damage in all forms? They baked it into this talent, so now it becomes even juicier.
It was in balance before. Now you don't need anything in balance for a feral DPS, or in PvE. The only thing you get in balance for PvP is a Nature's Grasp, but you don't get it for raiding or anything.
Such a good talent.
And you're going to get 3 points in the right one there, Natural Shapeshifter. That's going to let you power shift a lot more.
Yep, that's really good talent too. Honestly, they made the resto tree so nice because, I'm sorry,
and then
I'm cutting
1
you off,
point in
man,
Omen of Clarity.
You couldn't have your cake and eat it too in the past, though, right? Because you would have to, if you wanted that 10% on forms, you'd have to go into balance. Now you can be in resto, and it's so clean, feral resto.
Yeah, and you have to anyway, because you're going to get Omen of Clarity for bear or cat, but definitely cat. And that's the one on the right there, that 1 point.
Yeah, I got that one, yeah.
Yep, and now you've got 6 points left. You can go back to feral.
Okay.
You can finish out Thick Hide, the armor talent.
Okay.
Yeah, in the second row on the right. Yeah, that's essentially, you've got basically every bear talent now that you'd care much about. So the only thing you're missing, that first talent row, is Ferocious Bite damage, which you're rarely using as a cat because you're ripping. And it's a little more attack power reduction on Demoralizing Roar. But that's, again, like, who cares, really, right? So you could...
Well, it actually, if I would add on that, it actually would matter, but either the improved one from a warrior is better, or in TBC, usually what you would do is either Demo Roar not improved plus a hunter pet called an owl, which has Screech.
Oh yeah.
And those stack, and that actually lowers the attack power of the boss, even in consideration if you do Curse of Recklessness, which increases attack power. Those two things always reduces the attack power to 0.
Only thing you got to convince a hunter to not use a Ravager or a Wind Serpent. Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, but usually you would want the Survival Hunter that you bring to bring that, and it wouldn't sacrifice that much.
I see. Yeah.
And so these points there are like wasted. If you don't have a pet, you can still ask your Arms Warrior to like spend those talent points, and it will be better than what you have here.
That's big brain, man. I love that. That is really interesting. I'm learning so much, man. Somebody asked, I mean, this is something that is a very basic question. A lot of druids are like, yo, am I still using Wolf's Head Helm? It seems like the answer is yes. Is that...
The answer
Absolutely.
is yes. The only time people are debating about which one is better is the helm from Kil'jaeden called the Duplicitous Guise. So until you fully clear Sunwell, you're definitely using Wolf's Head. And even after, it's kind of up to you. But
so yes, pretty much. Because very few people are going to kill Kil'jaeden. That's the last boss of the whole game.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, that's, people argue all the time which one's better, but, like...
So you're done with one of your slots right now. In Classic, you're done.
Like, yeah, the only thing that you gotta do in TBC is get honored with Snaring Expedition, slap that head enchant on there with 34 attack power, 16 hit rating, and you're done.
Perfect, man. That's nice, man. It's nice quality of life. Then the Cleft Hoofs, well, the Cleft Hoofs set, I mean, you could just throw that on. on if you want to tank, right? And it's pretty
Well,
cheap.
if you're
blue star.
if you're tanking, if you're DPSing, you're looking mostly at kind of the gear that rogues, enhancement shamans, and feral dudes would be looking for together.
Like Primal Strike.
Primal Strike is an option.
Wastewalker.
The Fell Letter one, and then Wastewalker are your big ticket items, right? And then you're looking for like in Karazhan from Illuv, you'll want that staff real quick because that's such a big spike in your damage. You want the 40 batch trinket and then the Black Morass trinket. That's kind of your gear set.
I see.
I think.
So what would you?
If I could just really quick finish out your last 5 talent points just to show people like the options, right?
Good call.
So you can get that improved demo roar if you want. It's not a big deal is what I was trying to say. Not that it's worthless, but like it's probably the most minor bear talent there is. If you scroll down, you can either improve leader of the pack. Will give you when you crit, it'll heal you, and when your party members crit, it'll heal them. But because it's on an internal global cooldown of 6 seconds, and because
starting to bother me. I can't carry anymore. How are you? What's on your mind? Well met. I can't cast that yet. That's still recharging. Inventory is full. What's on your mind? What's your back? Interest you on a pint? Off with you. You got my attention. Be good. Interest you on a pint? Watch your back.
What's on your mind?